So guys, I wanted to give my thoughts on Titanfall 2's tech test demo. Now, the general consensus online is that it's not very good. There are a lot of people very angry at Titanfall 2 who are demanding the game to be delayed so that Respawn Entertainment can heavily rework the way that the game operates and stuff and the way that the mechanics work. Just generally, people are not very happy with it, but I want to give my thoughts, my opinions on Titanfall 2's beta or demo or whatever we want to call it. Essentially, they're just throwing the technology out there so that they can see how it performs in the wild, stress testing the servers, the lag, the latency, and everything, just, getting the numbers so that they can fine-tune it for release. And so here are some of my thoughts on the gameplay and the maps and the modes presented to us. So Titanfall 1, I am a huge fan of. I thought it was an incredibly promising first step for a possible new series. I thought that attrition was honestly the most fun I had ever had in a shooter. Like, in terms of large-scale warfare. Like, they were small maps and it was only 6v6, but you felt like you were in this massive battlefield, this huge war zone, and I loved how meticulous and detailed every single map was, to where you could wall run, where Titans could engage each other, where there were little hallways where you could firefight with different pilots and stuff. Ultimately, it was an incredibly well-designed game. Sadly, because there wasn't a lot of diversity with the maps and the ranking system was rather uninspired and generic, the unlock system wasn't that interesting. Because of just a multitude of factors, the game died off relatively quickly, and it's a pity because still to this day, I have a lot of fun with Titanfall. Will I play it for hours and hours and hours every day? No, but there are some days where I'm like, you know what, I want to play a game of Titanfall. I want to play attrition and just be in this massive battlefield and have like the parkour skills of these awesome sci-fi pilots, and so I'll jump into a game of attrition and I won't regret a single second of it. Titanfall 1 was a game so fun that even losing was a blast to play. And so now we go into Titanfall 2, and right off the bat, it's very apparent that Titanfall 2 learned a lot from what the community didn't like about Titanfall 1. The ranking system is completely different now, the leveling up system is very different, and they've actually incorporated a money system into how you get new weapons and stuff, and perks. You actually buy them, and I'm actually a big fan of this system. I like it whenever video games add some kind of monetary system to it where you earn cash by playing the game and then you can basically buy what you want instead of just unlocking it. The only problem here is that you have to unlock the weapons before you can buy them with the money that you've earned, and it's like, I'd rather just be able to buy what I want straight off the bat, but I get it, there needs to be like numbers going up, people need to feel a sense of progression, and if you could just buy anything off the bat, then that would ultimately cause the game to get really dull really fast, so I completely understand it. That was just a personal gripe for me. But moving into some of the more serious complaints, one of the things that I was worried about Titanfall 2 was that Respawn would seriously listen to the people who didn't understand what Titanfall 1 was. Because one of the main problems with Titanfall 1, I think, was the marketing pushed it as sort of like this Call of Duty killer. Like, it was gonna be like Call of Duty, but way cooler and stuff. And so when people bought it, they expected the generic 6v6 combat with kill streaks and maps that are very easy to learn. They're all 3-lane. Like, people were expecting just like your very generic Call of Duty experience. But what they got instead was kind of a first-person MOBA, where essentially you're dropped into a massive battlefield with AI, and it's essentially a race against the clock. You're fighting the other team, not for kills, but to get your Titan in as quickly as possible so that you could use it to stomp the other team and win the match. The Titan, how you got it, the best way to get it was actually to run around and kill other AI. If you saw another pilot, yeah, go kill that pilot, but it was a game about farming as much points, doing as many things as possible so that you could eventually call in your Titan and then just clean shop. And a lot of people went in expecting it to just be a generic Call of Duty game, and it wasn't. So a lot of people were like, what is this? Why are there AI running around? Why are there Titans? This is stupid. I don't want this. I want Call of Duty. And I was worried that the people who didn't understand the point of Titanfall 1, why it had AI, why it had Titans, that their, whining was going to negatively impact the second game, and it seems to have impacted it a little bit, and I want to get into this. So, attrition is no longer a game mode. That's a massive strike against this game already, because for me, attrition was like an ultimate display of everything that Titanfall was, like an ultimate culmination of all these different abilities and mechanics and stuff into one solid game mode with a lot of fun maps. Lots of parkour, lots of Titans, lots of wide open spaces, hundreds of AI running around. It was a massive battlefield. Now the maps are very much smaller, more condensed. There's much less room for parkour now. The game actually doesn't really encourage a lot of parkour. There is one map in the beta, Boomtown, which definitely feels more like a traditional Titanfall map, but even Boomtown suffers from a weird lack of wall running. There's like awkward places where you can wall run, and then there are just weird empty spaces where there's nothing to latch onto. And so sadly, I did find that a lot of my time in Titanfall was spent just running around on the ground. Titanfall 2, I mean. Just shooting other pilots. And also, AI seem to have been segregated into their own game modes. And that game mode doesn't include Titans, which is actually incredibly disappointing. The AI game mode, I played it a little bit and I found it to be incredibly dull and tedious, and so I just went back to Pilot versus Pilot and the I can't remember what they call it. I'll just call it Strongholds, like Halo 5 Strongholds mode. But so the Pilot versus Pilot game mode, it is fun. Like, it is fun, don't get me wrong. Like, Titanfall's combat is a ton of fun, and the parkour, when you are able to parkour, it's a ton of fun. You know, wall running, definitely, out of most games that I played, Titanfall nailed the wall running, the sense of momentum that you build up as you gain speed, and then you can just use your speed to launch yourself from building to building. It feels good, and the gunfights feel healthy and good. You know, the weapons have a healthy amount of recoil so that it's not just a bunch of laser beams with zero recoil like Call of Duty, so you can one-shot people across the map with something as simple as a submachine gun. It's not like that. You know, gun control takes a lot of skill in Titanfall 2, and I am happy that they've kept kind of like the recoil of the weapons from the first game. But sadly, like I said, it's missing something. Titanfall isn't about being just pilot versus pilot. Titanfall is rock, paper, scissors. There are all of these different elements, and so if it's just like paper versus paper or scissors versus scissors, you just find that it's kind of like the same experience over and over again, and that's what I found the pilot versus pilot game mode to do. It's just like, this is just kind of a Call of Duty experience, you know, like kind of wide open maps, guns. You know, if you get enough kills, you can use this thing called an amping device, where essentially you increase the damage that your weapon does, so that's kind of like a kill streak, and you just basically get a bunch of kills and you can amp up your weapon, and that's just kind of it. You know, you're just running around, not really, there's no real organization to anything, and it's ultimately really disappointing. A lot of people said, why wasn't there a pilot versus pilot game mode in Titanfall 1? It's like, guys, this is why. Titanfall wasn't about pilot versus pilot. Being a pilot was one piece of a larger puzzle. You can't have Titanfall without the Titans and the AI, and this game mode sadly proves it. It's not that much fun. Now, the Strongholds game mode, the Halo 5 Strongholds game mode, is a lot more fun, and it feels a lot more like a traditional Titanfall game mode. So this game mode does have Titanfalls, although Titans have been slightly reworked. Actually, recently the tech test demo was patched to make it a lot easier to call in your Titans, which is nice, but so essentially what you do is, in order to call in your Titans, instead of just waiting by completing objectives and decreasing the timer until your Titan's ready, you just have to get like a bunch of kills and a bunch of objective kills and stuff, so it's like a Call of Duty kill streak now. It's all about performance. And before the patch, I was very much against this because it was so difficult to get your Titan. You almost never saw them. After the patch, I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's not as much fun as the first game where, you know, even if you were sucking and you were getting crushed, you knew that you were going to get your Titan eventually. It's not really like that, but, you know, it's alright. Like, the kill streak-based Titans are a lot of fun now, and also the Titan classes have been reworked a little bit. In the first game, I felt that one of the problems with the Titans is that the classes were very, very uninspired. There was the Strider Titan, which had very little health but moved fast. There was the Atlas Titan, which was so-so, and then there was the Ogre Titan, which moved very slow but had lots of, like, you know, very, very generic classes. Where now the classes are a lot more diverse and stuff. Each one has its own, like, special weapon and special ability, and so ultimately the different Titan classes feel a lot different and a lot more interesting. And from what I've actually heard, there's going to be a Titan class called the Ronin Titan that we're going to be seeing in the final game, which is actually going to have a giant sword, so that's pretty cool. But ultimately, pre-patch, no, the Titans were not a lot of fun. Post-patch, yes, they're a lot more fun now. It feels a lot more like a Titanfall game. And ultimately, this Strongholds game mode, capturing 3 points and holding them to win, it's not attrition, and it can't replace attrition because there's no AI and the maps aren't quite as big, but you know what? It's still fun. Like, it's still definitely a lot of fun to play, and the parkour is still a lot of fun. In fact, actually, there are new tools that you can use to help your parkour. My favorite pilot ability is actually the grappling hook. And the grappling hook, what's really cool about it is, so what you can do is you can launch a grappling hook at a building and you can reel yourself in, but then what you can do is if you have a double jump ready, you can double jump while being reeled in by the grappling hook, and essentially it will act as a bungee cord and, like, launch you across the map, and you can go even further. You can use it to kind of swing yourself over buildings and get onto walls that are higher to reach, you know, and then you can just hang off of there and shoot pilots that can't see you. And so it's a lot of fun. There are new gadgets and stuff that you can use, but also there are a few things that I'm calling crutch abilities. Now, something that is a crutch ability is, in my opinion, something you cannot play the game without. It gives a serious buff to your gameplay experience that honestly it would only hinder you if you didn't equip it. So one of them is actually this little knife that you can throw, and it sends out a sonar pulse which lets you see enemies through the wall. That thing is everywhere. I see it everywhere, and that thing I would consider a crutch because, well, yes, the grappling hook is cool. I'd much rather have the ability to literally see people through walls. Like, that is so much better than just using a little grappling hook. And then there's, like, another one where it essentially makes it so that your health begins regenerating faster. And so you're harder to kill because, you know, if you run to cover, it's less time before you begin getting back all your health while you're wounded. And it's like, that's a huge benefit, you know? Why would I take anything else over that? Like, the other choice is you can hang off the walls if you aim down your sights. It's like, that's kind of more of a luxury. I'm gonna go with the health regen. That's so much more useful. And then, you know, sadly there are a lot of things like that. There's this gravity grenade that is way better than all the other grenades. There's a lot of balancing problems right now. And sadly it is the result of them trying to experiment with, like, fun new gadgets and stuff that you can use. Guys, remember the Smart Pistol from Titanfall 1? I mean, obviously, now where Titanfall 1 is, the Smart Pistol is much less annoying than it used to be, but ultimately that's the problem with trying to come up with gimmicks, like gimmicky utilities, is there's a chance that they're going to be a crutch ability, something that you will have to equip because of how good they are over everything else that you can equip. And so Titanfall 2, guys, it's a little bit disappointing. It's not what a sequel should have been. It's a little bit more refined than the first game. Animations are smoother, the netcode feels a lot better, but it's a lot more unbalanced, and it just sadly is a few steps back. Now, it's still a lot of fun, and I do still want to get the game when it comes out, but I've been let down severely by how they've kind of tried to listen to the people who said, no, get rid of the Titans, get rid of the AI, like, make it more like Call of Duty, and sadly, that's kind of what it's becoming. It's still leaps and bounds better than any Call of Duty game on the market right now, but I don't know, it's really disappointing to see Titanfall 2 kind of dumb itself down like this in response to people who didn't really get what the first game was about, if that makes any sense. But, you know, those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think about Titanfall 2's tech test demo? Are you going to get the game, or did this demo disappoint you like me? Just let me know your opinions in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.